Thank you. I've heard all through our service, first giving honor and regard to the Jackson family and to the matriarch of liberation, Mrs. Jacqueline Lavinia Jackson. As I listened and thought about, everyone quoted the slogan of Reverend Jackson, but I want to, in my few minutes, and if you take Brother Biden's minutes and other minutes, I come out of the Jackson School of Thought. They told me 4 minutes, which means 8 in Jacksonian language. I don't want us, Yusef, to leave here having mourned and then mock what Jackson was all about. We're sitting here acting like our own lack of rising to what he wanted us to be is the reason we are sitting on the brink of some of the most serious Reconstruction behavior being rescinded that we've seen in modern times. To leave here and not follow an assignment would not be what Jesse Jackson taught us. To make us feel good, we went to Jesse Jackson's funeral, and that we said nice things about Mrs. Jackson, but people at the same time are killing illegal immigrants. People at the same time are cutting public funding. At the same time, Affordable Care Act is not being renewed and seniors have to deal with premiums. Don't sit here so holy and sanctified and act like you have no assignment yourself. Jesse and Jacqueline Jackson did theirs. Do you realize they were born, he in South Carolina, her in Florida, when it was against the law? I'm not talking about a custom. It's against the law to ride in Southern buses. Against the law to use a toilet downtown. Against the law for you to eat in certain restaurants. And these two Southern-born, raised in Southern American apartheid, went on and put 2 of their sons in Congress, broke down barriers of voting. They did theirs. They planted a platform that led to an empowerment, and we are the generations behind them that have returned to those that were against us being empowered. Oh, they went against the Southern bigots in the overalls. We're dealing with manicured Fifth Avenue bigots. I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Sheard knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. But what I liked about it is that he didn't have the background others had. He didn't come from generations of preachers. So those of us that didn't have that pedigree, didn't have that background, could relate. And he talked about economics, and he talked about discipline. He would not let us make excuses. I would call him and say we're doing certain things and they're attacking us in the press. He said, oh, another pity party. He never cared when we felt we were being unfairly attacked. But I never will forget 1994. We went to Dakar, Senegal, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's where he said, Al, Meeks, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said, disciples? And for years, we joked each other. I'd cover the room, and Junior say, here's disciple number one, and Meeks. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson, and on Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago, and I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsored us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro Amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you have. I asked Michael Eric Dyson, our prominent scholar, where in history is this? He said, we always go one step forward and two backward. Well, here we are now. The problem is not Trump. The problem is us. We are allowing ourselves to be lowered and our children to feel inferior because you don't have an I am somebody person. You got our artists calling our women bees. Our others calling us niggas. What happened to us? What happened to black and proud? What happened? I'm going to vote. What happened? Ain't going to let nobody turn me around. What happened to us? We believed our way. And we had the faith to do it. And that's why my challenge to you is that we should do what Jesse Jackson did. Not look at what you can see, but look at what you can believe even if you can't see it. Sitting up here talking about, oh, they got all the power, we can't win. We got to win. Because they put the seeds of victory in us. If we just nurture them and grow, Hakeem Jeffries be the Speaker of the House. If we keep on winning, we'll get the Senate back. If we keep winning, we can save health care for our grandmamas. If we keep winning, we can bring about criminal justice reform. If we keep winning, we can have 2 Jackson boys in the Congress. We didn't come this far to turn around now. Reverend Sharp, pastor fellowship, I was talking to him. And I said, Reverend Sharp, I was saying, Reverend Sharp, Jesse Jackson talked about keep hope alive. And I met a man that Reverend Jackson admired called Adam Clayton Powell when I was a kid. And Adam had a slogan called Keep the Faith, Baby. And I'd like, Tyler Perry's here. He canceled something to be with us. I'd like one day Tyler do a whole thing on it, Adam Powell, because there's a little risque side to Adam that Tyler know how to handle that kind of stuff. And between Jesse Jackson's slogan of keep hope and Adam's slogan of keep faith is what I challenge us and the Jackson family to do. Because my mother told me in my engine, I had two gears, hope and fear. Hope is that I hope a better day will come. Hope is I won't give up. Hope is that we come this far by faith. But she said, but sometime it's going to get dreary. And that's when your gear goes to faith. Faith is the substance of things you hope for, not hope for. The evidence of things not seen. Faith is when the doctors give up, but you hold on for another doctor. Faith is when you got bills to pay and no money to pay them. Faith is when they write you off and when they write you back. We come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord. Or they getting ready to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country, but we were not free in 1776. It is not our celebration. We got here in 1619. We worked 246 years and never got paid, but we are still here. We come this far by faith. It was against the law to read and write. It was against the law to marry, but we come this far by faith. I don't care what they do in Washington. I care what we do in the community. We beat people bigger than Trump. We fought people harder than them if we stand up and be what we're supposed to be. Private sector saying they're going to end diversity, equity, and inclusion. Reverend Sharp, we started Wall Street. Wall Street.
We did that.
Dealing with diversity.
We did that.
So you don't want a diversity in your boardroom, then don't have a diversified consumer base. So what I'm urging you to do is leave here with some Jackson fire in you. Not just a program book, but to say I see the things the way they are, but I'm going to turn and change them. Have some Jackie Jackson fire saying I'm going to raise my kids beyond your expectation. I'm going to rise up anyhow. But Reverend, it looks bad now. Look at Iran. Look at what's going on in Minnesota. Look on. Yeah, but I was raised by them to realize that after storms, if we do the right thing in the storm, if we organize, if we register, if we do what we're supposed to do, there's always a rainbow coming out. The rainbow don't show until the storm is over. The rainbow gonna come out in November. The rainbow gonna come out in 28. We gonna fix these tricks in 26 and march through the gates in 28. We didn't come this far to turn around now. We won't go back. We won't go back. We won't go back.